All right, let's get into it. We're going to talk about the Rockefeller family and how they took a fortune that was, let's be honest, pretty controversial and turned it into this dynasty that's lasted for generations. This is the blueprint for how to not just get rich, but to stay powerful, basically forever. So, where does a story like this even begin? Well, it starts with a really brutal lesson. Picture this. John D. Rockefeller is just a little kid. His dad, a con man they call Devil Bill, tells him to jump, promising he'll catch him, and then he just steps back, lets his own son fall right to the floor. That right there, that single, harsh lesson, that's what created the man who would build one of the biggest fortunes in American history. And because of that lesson, he became a man of, well, massive contradiction. It's like he had these two completely different faces. To the public, he was this incredible philanthropist, a real pillar of the community. But behind closed doors, he was the cutthroat monopolist who learned his first tricks from a professional swindler. So how in the world did this complicated guy build such a massive empire? It all boils down to this really unique inheritance of character he got. It was one part deep faith and one part pure deception. You see, his personality was this total collision of his parents. On one hand, you have his mother, who taught him to save every single penny. On the other, you have his father, who taught him that rules are just suggestions and promises are made to be broken. You put those two things together, and you get the absolute perfect formula for winning in the Gilded Age, that wild, explosive, and, yeah, often ruthless time in American history. And boy, did he apply that sharp, disciplined mindset. He jumped into the brand new, chaotic oil industry and just moved with incredible speed. During what's now called the Cleveland Massacre, he gave his competitors a simple choice: sell out to me, or I will crush you. He had these secret, unbeatable deals with the railroads that nobody else could match. It was game over. And you know what? It worked. By 1880, his company, Standard Oil, controlled roughly 90% of all the oil refineries and pipelines in the entire country. Just think about that. 90%. The world had never seen that kind of dominance before. Now here's where the real genius of the plan kicks in. You'd think that when the Supreme Court finally stepped in and broke up Standard Oil for being a monopoly, that'd be the end, right? Nope. Rockefeller didn't lose a thing. He just kept large chunks of stock in all the new, smaller companies, and his personal wealth. It didn't just survive, it exploded. Okay, so making a ton of money is one thing, but making it last forever, that's a whole other challenge. And this right here is where the Rockefellers really set themselves apart from everyone else. This really shows you two completely different ways of thinking. You had families like the Vanderbilts building these huge, flashy marble palaces and throwing parties that cost millions. And guess what? Their fortunes basically vanished. The Rockefellers, though, they built systems designed to outlive them, outlive governments, outlive everything. I mean, they engineered their family's future with the same kind of precision they used to refine oil. And the heart of that strategy was something called the Dynasty Trust. It's basically a legal fortress that protects the family money from taxes and bad decisions. It even acts like a private bank for over 200 family members today. And they had this incredibly clever system to keep it going, called the Waterfall Method. Here's how it works. When a family member passes away, the trust actually gets stronger. A big life insurance payout flows right back into the trust. It avoids all those killer estate taxes, and then it funds the insurance policies for the next generation. It is literally a perpetual motion machine for wealth. They also locked in their influence with some very strategic marriages. See, money alone couldn't get them into the real inner circle of American power. But that all changed when John D. Rockefeller Jr. married the daughter of Senator Nelson Aldrich, a man known as the General Manager of the United States. This wasn't just a marriage, it was a merger. It took the family from being just rich industrialists to being true establishment power brokers. So, this system for permanent influence was, well, incredibly effective. But it begs the question, what was all that influence actually used for? Building schools and parks is great, sure, but the story is, of course, a little more complicated than that. We all know about the family's huge philanthropic work in medicine and education, and it's done a ton of good, no question. But if you start digging into the archives, especially in those early days, let's say a more complex picture starts to emerge. Yeah, in the early 20th century, the Rockefeller Foundation, along with other big foundations at the time, actually funded projects tied to eugenics, that now discredited pseudoscience of,
improving the human race. These investments in racial hygiene research had a real impact on public policy in ways most people never even knew about.
So, this hidden legacy isn't just about funding some really questionable science. It's also about the brutal way the fortune was built in the first place and the corporate power that still shapes our world today. You know, the DNA of Standard Oil? It's still very much alive in the energy giants we all know. So, how do you square all this? How do we reconcile the two sides of the story? The philanthropist and the predator, the great builder and the ruthless monopolist. The verdict really isn't simple, is it? The family built a machine for permanent influence. And that machine did amazing things. It gave us national parks and huge medical breakthroughs. But it was built by crushing people, and it was used to fund some really harmful ideas. It's just a legacy of profound contradiction. This idea of stewardship, this family principle, has really guided their public work for generations. And to be fair, the foundation has since owned up to and started to really account for the more controversial parts of its past. So they are trying to live by this creed, even as all these complexities come to light. Ultimately, the Rockefeller story just shows that a legacy isn't only about what you build, but how you build it. It's this powerful reminder that the methods you use matter just as much as the results. And it kind of leaves us all with a big question for our own lives, right? What will our legacy be?